Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in here. It was a great class on the 20th, so thank you so much for that. Today we're going to talk about what we didn't have time to talk about last week, which is creating caregiver assessment instruments. And I was going to have you actually work to do that and then compare your work with other people's, but we didn't have time to do that, and that can only be done face to face. So we're going to do it a little differently today. You're going to just look at instruments that have already been created. If you've read the articles from week 20, you know a little bit about, and also the other articles and the other things we talked about in terms of the burden for many parents who have children with disabilities. So the first thing to think about is objectively and also subjectively, why do we assess for caregiver strain or burden? It's called both. Something to think about, and you'll write about that. Next thing is we're going to take a look at two different instruments that have already been used to assess caregiver strain. And I'll show you those in a minute. So for this week, excuse me, I want you to make sure that you've read all the articles from the previous weeks and watch this video presentation, which you're doing now. Read any articles that are up for this week. And then there's a forum that I'd like you to participate in by discussing why do we assess caregiver burden? How are the two caregiver burden assessments the same, and how are they different? And I'd like you to make sure that you post a little discussion about that and then reply to at least one other person. I'd like to make sure that everybody has a reply to it. I mean, I'll reply to them too, but it would be nice. So, and then also obviously be sure that you're working on your final presentation and let me know if you have any questions. So let's get out of this for right now. I'm going to make sure that I've got it saved. All right. And if we look on here, so you've got some readings, but two of the readings are actually the instruments. Then there's multiple dimensions of caregiving and disability, and the neighborhood context and the risk of developmental disabilities in young children. That kind of goes along with the other kinds of things that we've talked about. So let's take a look at the Zared Burden questionnaire. So you can see they've got questions here, and then you just you circle whatever they talk about. So never, rarely, sometimes, quite frequently, nearly always. Things like, do you feel that your relative asks for more help than he or she needs? Do you feel that because of the time you spend with your relative that you don't have enough time for yourself? Do you feel stressed between caring for your relative and trying to meet other responsibilities of your family or work? By the way, what they mean by relative is here, whoever it is who has the disability. Could be a son, but they could be a daughter, but it could also be that they're caring for a niece, a nephew, a parent, and so on. So do you feel uncomfortable about having friends over because of your relative? So in all of these, and then you count them up here for the total score, and you can get as much as 88, and you can then see how much burden that person is feeling. So it's partly objective and partly subjective. So let's go back to here. And you've got the caregiver survey questionnaire. That's gonna, okay, here we go. You have to, that one will probably download on there. So this one's similar but different. So again, how much of a problem was the following? And in this case, they talk about the child. So it's more specifically meant for a child, but it doesn't matter. You could substitute the word relative in here also. So still the same type of thing. So then you're going to be doing, it's not up here yet, but I'm going to put a forum up here. Actually, I'll do that while you're watching. Put a forum here. So caregiver burden strain forum. Discuss why should we assess caregiver burden or stress, and then how are the two instruments similar and different? So when you get a question like this, well, how are they similar and different? You got to talk about both things, like what makes them very much the same and what makes them different. So that's pretty much it. And I'm just going to add this so that I know when everybody's had a chance to look at it. I don't want to impose too much of a I don't want to pose too much of a burden for you. So I'm not going to have an exact time that this is due. But if it could be due around the 27th, that'll help me and it'll also help you because then we're going to go on to the next module, which is November 3rd. And that one's going to be about attachment and temperament. So thank you so much for watching this, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Let me know if you need any help.